So allow me to introduce our keynote today. Dr. Alison Miller is a leader and well-being expert who helps high-performing professionals lead with clarity, resilience, and sustainable effectiveness. She's spent over 2 decades supporting leaders across academia, technology-adjacent organizations, and corporate environments. Alison is the founder of the Academic Writers Space and a sought-after speaker on burnout prevention, leadership under pressure, and healthier ways to work out and lead. Will you please help me welcome Dr. Alison Miller?
Hi everyone. Can you hear me good? Yep. All right. I'm for today. When you speak a lot, sometimes you have a day where your voice isn't good, and I'm having one of those days, so I sound a little deeper than normal, I think. I'm Alison, and I am unbelievably, I've been an entrepreneur for 26 years. So I'll just tell you a little bit about me, and that will feed into what we're going to talk to you about today. And first of all, that was just really lovely. You are lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Just what beautiful energy between you, and I really appreciate all the different things that I heard. And just, I can really feel in the room people's commitment to being of service to their own community.
Oh,
Right?
you,
Running
Alison.
businesses that are like, allow you to make a living and allow you to serve the community you live in, right? I mean, that's what we are, right? That's what we're here for. So, I have a PhD in clinical psychology, and right after I defended my dissertation, I found out I was pregnant, and I ended up taking a completely different career path. I did not know I was an entrepreneur. In fact, someone said to me a few years ago, yeah, you're like a serial, you've like created so many, I've created a lot of things. But the main business that I started, this is gonna sound strange, but it was called The Dissertation Coach. Well, it still exists. And it is one of the first of its kind where we provided coaching services and consulting services specifically to people getting PhDs. So I don't know if you've ever known someone that went to grad school, but you have to do this dissertation at the end, and it can go on for a really long time. I've coached people who were in grad school for 10, 15, 20 years. Really long journey for some folks. Anyway, I had no idea when I started this business that I had just happened to pick something that was about to skyrocket because the online education world came. And I ended up growing my organization into a team of 25 people, and unbelievably, I sold it, which is very unusual for a coaching consulting business. And I ended up selling it to the most wonderful person who I met by chance, who has become one of my closest friends. So what happened was, actually 6 years ago today's an anniversary of another business I started. So when the pandemic came, we were serving clients all over the world. And graduate students tend to be pretty isolated to begin with. And there's like immediate concern from the team about the mental health and well-being of their clients. So I had this idea, this is like March 6th or something, 7th, right as things were shutting down. And I said to my husband, you know, what if we as an organization respond to the pandemic by offering these Zoom calls where people can come and we will co-work together over Zoom, but we'll be together. And so I created, this is what I started with, and it's still the way we do it. Basically, imagine this. You've got a massive paper to do. You have a ton of work to do. This would even work for a lot of, do you have a lot to do? Do you have
no, I have nothing to do.
Nothing, yes, exactly. We're gonna talk about that. Let me just take a drink. First of all, if you don't know this, apple juice over ice is delicious, right? Where's Daisy? So Daisy and I were talking in the back, and at the same exact moment, we both said that we love pineapple juice. I've never met another human that orders pineapple juice in a bar, but thank you. Glad to know.
Maybe some rum.
Okay, so people would log on to Zoom, and I did my first one 6 years ago today. We're actually having a little Zoom party later, where I did like an opening chat with them for about 10 minutes, and then I sent everybody off to work. People turn off their camera, but we're all staying on Zoom. And then 45 minutes later, I called them back into the Zoom call and we checked in. How's it going? What went well in the last 45 minutes? What did not go well? How do you want to readjust? By the way, this is a good strategy for life. You just had a conversation with somebody. What went well in that conversation? What didn't go well? How does that inform how I operate in the future? Your lived experience is it's the best data source that you have to grow, evolve, improve in your life. So they go off for 45 minutes, we bring them back in the middle, then we send them out for 45 minutes, and then we would do like an integration, a close at the end. So I ended up opening up a new business called the Academic Writer Space. We call it TAWS. My license plate is literally TAWS, I'm not joking. And it has been a completely life-changing experience for me. I coached a lot of students up until that point. I was 20 years in business when we started the Academic Writer Space. I've learned so much from co-working with people, and I'm co-working with people often who are working full-time, raising families, getting a PhD, or they're full-time professors, trying to figure out how to make a career in academia, which has become increasingly difficult as in the time that I've been in business. So basically, I've created a community, and it's an international community. We have members from Hawaii to New Zealand who Zoom in, and we lead co-working sessions. And so in these co-working sessions, I facilitate many, I have thousands by now. I'm not the only, I have 10 facilitators. And so we have this basically sessions from 5 a.m. to midnight going on. It's kind of crazy. So people are calling in from all over the world and getting support. So what I want to talk with you about today is really the essence of what I've learned in being with people live while they're working. It's a really interesting intervention because one of the challenges, if any of you have ever been like in therapy or had a coach, is you have like a beautiful conversation. It's so inspiring. And then a week later when you check in, you're like, what are we talking about? What was I supposed to do? So we've created an intervention where we talk about an idea and then you go and immediately practice it right now, okay? So if you hear something here today that speaks to you where you feel like, oh yeah, write it down, your brain will not remember. I also gave you some notes so it's a little easier for you. So you do have kind of a back-to-back handout. And if you want to reach me, I put my contact information at the bottom for you, okay? So how many of you feel like there's not enough time in the day to do everything that you need to do? Okay, yes, you feel that way, okay. Do you feel like you are racing against time sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And you feel like you have to make up for lost time.
Yeah.
Do any of you make to-do lists?
Oh, yeah.
That a little part, you do. And is a little part of you sometimes, you make to-do lists where you're like, it's your magical thinker, it's planning for the superhero version of you. It's planning for the day to go perfectly and for you to basically get no email. How many of you have time blocked out in your calendar for email? Okay, if you do not, I'm telling you, then what's going to happen is we pretend like email is just something we do in the cracks of the day. This is a little newsflash for all of you. Email is work. It's labor.
Yeah.
It's right. There's a lot of unpaid labor going on there too, right? And the thing is, email is actually really important. When you're in business, the way that you communicate with your employees, with your colleagues, with your customers matters so much. And we need to set aside time for email so that we can actually be present in email. And I'm going to talk more about managing email a little bit later on. Do any of you feel like your attention is like a pinball in a pinball machine during the day? It's just everywhere, okay? Yes, okay. These are all things, and do you ever just feel completely overwhelmed? Like you have so much to do, there's nothing to do? right? It's nuts. Okay, first of all, let's just acknowledge that you biologically are not designed to receive this much stimulation. I think actually a lot of the difficulties that we're seeing in society are because we are vastly overstimulated. Okay, so we're going to talk about bringing down that level of stimulation as well. So I would say my main discovery from all this co-working with people is that there really are, in a way, this is not a binary. I'm going to describe this as this is really a spectrum, what I'm about to describe to you. There's a way of working that's moving in the direction of reactive. Okay, so you know when you're moving through your day and you're scattered and you're all over the place and you're jumping around, and then you find an email that you started 3 hours ago and you completely forgot about. Okay, right? You're just like, so this is a mode of productivity. I mean, this is just a name I made up. I call it reactive productivity. Okay, it isn't that you're like necessarily fully reactive. Think of it as more, am I moving in the direction of a more reactive productivity where the outside demands in the world are dictating what gets my attention? Okay, this is one of the most important things that I want to say about this time on earth right now. There is going to be a difference we are going to see between people who stay sovereign and of their attention, who stabilize their attention and realize this is my attention. What am I giving my attention to? Now, does anybody here enjoy TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Reels? Be honest. Okay, too much? Someone said to me recently, my screen time is diabolical. And I was like, oh, so embarrassing, but so true. Okay, so here's the thing about those. I want you to know when you're interacting with those apps, they were designed to manipulate you neurologically. They were designed to captivate and monetize your attention. Now, I run a business where most of my customers find me on Instagram. So I'm in that world, okay? It requires extreme inner management because I think there are so many really funny things. Like, it's nice to laugh, and Instagram makes me laugh. Instagram knows, it knows me too. It knows that I like to see birds dancing to music, right? Isn't it weird? It knows things about you. Okay, the algorithm is powerful. Okay, but here's the thing. Those programs, those like Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, they were designed with 0 stopping cues. Okay, so a stopping cue is, on Netflix when it says, are you still watching? Mm-hmm. Right. I used to have Pandora. Are you still listening? Mm-hmm. If you open up a newspaper app on your phone, yes, there are articles usually linked below, but at some point the page ends. It's a stopping cue that reminds you of wait, where am I in space and time? Have any of you gotten sucked into your phone into like a vortex where you're like, how did 45 minutes go by? Yeah. Oh, well, I guess I won't work out this morning. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to recommend to all of you, this is no phone in the bed. It's disrupting your sleep. I have started reading fiction at night. Highly recommend. It's like a much better way to go to sleep. But what it's doing is it's literally overstimulating you at a time when the best way to transition to sleep is to bring down the level of stimulation. Okay, so there's no stopping cues. It is designed for infinite scrolling. Isn't it brilliant? Wasn't it brilliantly designed? It's this master manipulation of our brains. It's actually astonishing to me that this exists, okay? Now, there are really cool things about social media. I have found people who become teachers to me. I have learned about important things. It's not all bad, but we have to decide that I am cognitively sovereign. I prioritize stabilizing my own attention. So when I go into these apps, I have to bring my own stopping cues, like setting a timer. You get 10 minutes of TikTok, and you have to be like, first of all, most of what you're seeing, it doesn't matter. That's right. You're not going to remember it, right? Maybe you send it to a few people, ha ha ha, I know we all have our people that our whole relationship. Yes. By the way, I actually decided unless it's something just so absolutely incredible and relevant in my relationship with somebody, I'm only sending those things in app. I'm not texting them anymore. Because every time I do that, I'm leaving my friend or family member vulnerable to an infinite scrolling. Okay. All right. So you could be moving in the direction of more of a reactive productivity. Here's some examples of what happens when you're reactive. You speak to somebody, a colleague or an employee or someone in a way where you're like, oof, have you done that? Right? We've all been terse or had a tone or gotten annoyed and frustrated and just it's just not how you actually want to be in the world. that's a sign you're moving in the direction of more of a reactive productivity. Okay, we're scattered. We are opening up, you open up a new web browser page and you have no idea why, even though you knew 1 second ago. Okay, right? We're, email hopping, jumping around, not working with priorities, not with a chosen sense of, I am doing this now, with a sense of when you start to realize it, you start to observe yourself being reactive, this is really important. We observe and we do not judge. We observe and we do not judge. For who's been reactive in the last 24 hours? Just curious. Have you, right, okay. You're gonna continue to be reactive, okay? On my way here, so my father is actually in the hospital right now. He's okay, but we're in the phase of we don't know what's happening yet. And he was texting me this morning. So I was using the speak back to him feature, didn't notice getting on Pomona Highway and added 8 minutes to my route. And I was so interested to notice what happened in my body and how I immediately got tight and stressed. And I just decided that that's just my wiring. I don't have to judge it. Okay, it's all good. I can't stop the reactivity. It's just part of it, okay? Have you had a conversation with somebody where you let your reactivity get the best of you? Mm-hmm. Sure. More than once. All right. We all are reactive. And part of the reason that we are so reactive at times is because we're so overstimulated, okay? Sometimes I'll say to my husband, could you get me a sensory deprivation tank? I'm just when you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business, there's just there's just so much actually going on. What's the alternative to reactive productivity? We could call it relaxed productivity. Okay, so I'm going to describe this to you. It's going to sound maybe a little too idealistic, but I'm going to tell you this is actually possible. It's not possible in 100% sense, but it's possible some of the time. Relaxed productivity, now interesting, I want you to notice the two words. The word productivity is in here because doesn't it matter that you actually run your business well and produce results? You need to make money. We want to deliver. We want to provide whatever it is that we are doing in the world. We actually have results we want to produce, action we need to take. And you know what? It is deeply satisfying to be productive.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more satisfying when you do it in a more relaxed way. So what I'm talking about is envisioning the possibility that productivity and well-being can coexist. And that is my mission in my life, is to support people who have a lot going on, to stabilize their attention so that they can start to move in the direction of more of a relaxed productivity. Okay, so think of it this way of a spectrum. In any given moment, I might notice, in the car, I'm starting to move into more of a reactive mode. Okay, that's okay. We observe and we do not judge. We start to ask, okay, what else? How else can I relate to this? What other choices can I make? So what I encourage you to do is to notice when you find yourself being reactive. First of all, notice what's happening. What is actually happening in your body? Did your chest just tighten up? Do you feel a burning rage, right? Do you feel tears are coming to your eyes or your throat is clenched, right? Do you feel it in your belly? Do you feel a little bit nauseous? Do you feel your jaw? First of all, do you know how tight your jaw is? Just go ahead and feel that. Does your dentist ask you, do you grind your teeth? Mm-hmm. And I'm always I guess I do because you're asking, Okay. But we're walking around tight and tense, carrying, the tension of living on planet Earth in our bodies. And what starts to happen is our attention starts to destabilize. Okay, because first of all, you are programmed with the fight or flight response in you. Okay, so we have this thing called the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that basically does everything automatic in your body. Like it gets you to breathe and it manages your blood pressure and your temperature. It is part of also when there is a threat to your survival, it's designed to get you into action so that you can fight or flee the situation. But that email you just got is actually not a mortal danger, but you're pissed, right? You're stressed, you're overwhelmed, right? So what happens is you start to move into more of a hypervigilant mode. Because if you are under threat, doesn't it make sense to be kind of hypervigilant?
Sure.
You're looking around like you see a rustle in the bushes, right? You'd want to do that. The problem though is that we don't actually fight or flee. We usually don't move our body with vigor. And so all that adrenaline and cortisol is raging through our body, but we just are sitting behind a computer. Okay, so we start to become kind of hypervigilant, and we start to feel like, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that. Do any of you just feel like you want to get all things done simultaneously? Yeah. What starts to happen is we don't see what we need to do as separate tasks. Our tasks start to kind of almost clump together in these giant piles of things that we need to do. And so we can't figure out what we're landing our attention on next. Okay, so let's pretend here, let me just grab these. Okay, so let's pretend that I want to work on this. Okay, I want to work on what's in this folder. Okay, but I also am like, oh wait, but you know what? What about that email? Let me just do that email real quick. Oh, you know, wait. Oh no, wait, I've got to pay that bill, right? You know how that is? Where you're just jumping from thing to thing to thing. When you're jumping tasks, by the way, just so you know, when people say multitasking, you're not multitasking, you're switch tasking. Okay? So let me just say this to you before I get back to relaxed productivity. When you do a lot of, who switch tasks? Come on, every single person in this room, let's be honest. Okay, so I want you to think about this. Okay, let's pretend that each of you at this table is a different task. Okay, and I'm like, hi. Oh wait, oh hi. Oh, how are you? Okay, now if I went out to lunch, let's say the pastor and I went out to lunch, and I was on my phone the entire time. Does the pastor want to have lunch with me again? No. But your work is like, hey, I'm over here. Why are you on Instagram again? Right? Your work is waiting for you. And when we are jumping, I'm switching, I'm over here. What's happening is every single time I switch from you to you, back to you, back to you, I have to get reoriented around the task again. Mm-hmm. Not a good use of the limited cognitive capacity I have for the day. I'm also vastly overstimulating myself. Oh, God, that email's so hard to deal with. Okay, I'll deal with that later. Okay, now I carry the tension of that rather than just like, you know what, I'm gonna deal with this email now. This is the only place I'm putting my attention is here now. So don't any of you just feel like fried sometimes at the end of the day? Okay, if you feel fried, check in and see how much switch tasking you were doing, okay? Remember, when you catch yourself switch tasking, we observe and we do not judge. Everybody is switch tasking all over this planet. It's happening everywhere. One of the things I think that can really differentiate you in your work environment from other people is that you become more of a single tasker, right? Okay, now, and sometimes single tasking feels too difficult for people. So what I suggest is, why not start just doing less at a time? Bring down the level of stimulation. So now what's happening is the individual pieces of work that you need to engage with, each of them is getting you. And now you. Oh, okay, those are done. Now you. Okay. First of all, do you notice what's happening here? Doesn't that feel better just to imagine that? It's so much more satisfying to engage, to really give your attention to the task, engage with it fully, get it done, cross it off, and move on to the next one. Give myself more fully. I'm sovereign. I'm choosing. The reason I use the word sovereign is I want you to think of it this way. It's like you are the supreme leader of your attention. You are the only person that can pick up your attention and make choices about where to put it. This is going to differentiate you in your life if you prioritize stabilizing your attention. And we are going to need to stabilize it every single day because we are living through a very destabilizing time, right? We just have to find a way to be in touch with ourselves. So relaxed productivity is only possible if I stabilize my attention. Can you see that? If my attention is jumping all around and I'm all over the place, I'm just going to be reactive. That's fundamentally what I'm doing. The external demands are dictating what's getting my attention versus me saying, okay, hold on. What am I doing with this precious attention that I have? Because it's mine, okay? Now, let me just read to you. I just wanted to, I also do not know what time it is, so someone has to tell me.
You're good, you're 8:50.
8:50, okay, because I'm going to wind it down soon, unless you ask me questions. I'm attempting to read this without glasses. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to put my glasses on. This is one of my least favorite parts of aging, right? It's like, you know when people go, hey, look at this picture of my dog. You're like, please don't put your phone in my face. I'm 55. I need my glasses. Okay, so here are some questions I put on here. This is on page 2. It's about halfway down. It says practical attention check. Okay, this is about supporting you being the supreme leader of your attention, stabilizing your attention. What am I choosing to give my attention to right now? Isn't that such an obvious question? Okay, I just also want to point out to you, bonus points. If you stabilize your attention, do you know what else is going to happen in your life? Your relationships are going to get better. So a lot of the interpersonal conflict that's going on, especially in our most intimate relationships, is because you've got two people with destabilized attention interacting with each other. So we're missing each other, right? We're just missing each other. It makes a huge difference. Okay, what am I choosing to give my attention to right now? This is one of those tattoo it on your arm. Seriously. My daughter's actually a tattoo artist, just for real. Somehow I raised a tattoo artist. I don't know, it's wild. She just makes money doing art on people's bodies. It's insane. Do I know the next small step I'm going to take? Okay. Did you know that a lot of the tasks you need to do actually have what's called, we made this up, hidden starting tasks? Hidden starting tasks. Okay. So let me give you an example. Every single week, I personally email any member of my community who's let their membership lapse. Very friendly check-in. Remarkable the results that have been produced from that, because very often that person was in some kind of crisis. They always have my calendar link. They schedule a meeting with me, and I do an intervention. I create help them make a plan. They come back to the community, and instead of giving up on their degree, they finish it. Okay, I also email people who haven't been coming to session personally. And I also follow up with the recent leads we have who haven't started their membership yet, okay? Every single week. But in order to do that work, I have to run some reports and get some emails set up. There's a setup that needs to happen. And I was avoiding doing this and putting it off till late in the week. I want it done on Monday. Sometimes I wasn't doing it at all until I realized, there's actually prep work to do this. I've set it up for myself so it's easier to do now, but it requires some prep work. So now in my plan, I'm telling myself to do that prep work. There's a big cause. Who procrastinates, by the way? Anybody procrastinate? Okay. Start to figure out on the tasks that you procrastinate on, what's the outermost layer of beginning that task? That is a separate task. Those are hidden starting tasks. And when you start to figure out what that outer layer is, okay, see if you can push yourself. Okay, you know when you don't feel like working out, but you're like, fine, I'm on the treadmill, I'll do 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, it's like, okay. Or, it's sometimes we just need to get started. In fact, I recommend people really pay attention and think about starting as like a muscle. Your ability to start tasks is something that if you are intentional about, oh yeah, I want to get better at starting. You keep starting and you keep trying to start. You know how sometimes when you take a book of matches and you go to light a match, the first and second time you're not doing it with enough force, because it's about to spark, you have some restraint in it. You have to feel your way into lighting the match. That's how starting is. You try to start, some of your starts are gonna just flop. They're not gonna work. Who cares? Start again, start again. It's a muscle. And the thing about being good at starting is the only way that you can be good at starting is if you practice it continually.
Yeah.
It's a perishable skill, okay? All right, so it's amazing how much I talk from one question. Okay. Do I know the next small step? You get that, okay? Am I settled enough to remain with this task? Okay, there is always a version of you who shows up to work. And that version of you is ever changing. Sometimes you show up and you're like motivated, you feel pretty good and grounded, you have a plan, you're ready to go. Great, get in there, you're compatible with working. Sometimes you show up and you have a headache, you're grumpy, you had like a really crappy meeting, you lost an important client, I don't know. There's just something going on. You had an argument with someone last night and the energy's still in your body, you're hungry, right? When you show up to work, sometimes the version of you who shows up is actually not compatible with working effectively. Has this happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's because we're unsettled and overstimulated. So taking time to go, okay, you know what? Hi desk, I am about to do email. Okay, how do I want to be? Like my mantra is I want to leave people better than I found them in an email. Really helps, it slows me down. I want to be present. Like, how do I want to be as I engage with this? Okay? So settling, even a few breaths, even just, I highly recommend, this is a simple way to settle, is just to look around the room, look all around. By the way, your neck is tight. You know you need to do this, right? Because we've got tech neck. So just even getting oriented of like, oh, I'm in an office, I'm in a room. Okay, hi. Okay, so this is a skill. Let me see if I'm only gonna teach it to you by demonstrating it to you. This is one of the most important skills in life. This right here, besides stabilizing your attention. And it's actually how you stabilize your attention. Is for you to just check in and notice, hi, there's a human here. So can you feel what I'm doing already? I can feel you do it right back, and I really appreciate it. Even if you want, you can even put your hand over your heart. There are other things, like sometimes it's helpful to put your hands on your own face or to just kind of tap yourself. Sometimes we need to kind of wake ourselves up, right? We're a little bit, sometimes it's not because we're in more of a fight or flight. We're actually now in more of a shutdown. Do you ever get kind of frozen? Get kind of, right? It gets icy in there. Sometimes we need to wake ourselves up, okay? So like right now, there's a version of me who's here right now. First of all, you're lovely people to be with. I can feel your openness and I really appreciate it. So I can feel that. I also can feel a little bit of nervousness that they're like, is she like is this too woo-woo, right? I am a little bit woo-woo, but I try to keep it very practical and straightforward, okay? I live in California. It's affected me. What can I say? my friends, I left Chicago. I lived in Chicago for 18 years, and in 2010 I moved to California. And all of our friends in Chicago are like, "Yeah, you guys really live in California now. It's the land of fruit and nuts." You know, that's what we always say. Okay, so you really do have the opportunity throughout the day to settle yourself. Okay, over and over and over again, and to remember that there is this possibility of relaxed productivity. And I didn't read the last questions to you, which I don't even know where it is. Okay. This is the last thing I wanted to tell you. This is so practical. This is not woo-woo at all. Is my workplace organized and in a condition that I can actually work with stabilized attention? Okay. So if you are procrastinating, you are avoiding your work, or you're working in a way that's just not working for you. It's making it really hard for productivity and well-being to coexist. The problem could be in your physical and digital environment. Okay, so when you make a plan to work, one of the best gifts you could give yourself is before you engage with that work, you locate and find every website, password, document, folder, things that you need that are in your file drawer. You find and locate what you need to do the work separate from the actual work. Because that is labor. And if a lot of times the reason that we are not in action is because we have to find things to do things. Mm-hmm. So separate it. Okay, let me give you some other examples of what aligning your environment could look like. Pick out your outfit tonight for tomorrow. So tomorrow you is like, thank you. That's easier for you, right? Yes. Okay. But even still, even if you you hang the shirt out or you I knew I had to get up really early this morning, right? So I organized the food in the fridge and put out a napkin and a plastic spoon and hung the outfit in the bathroom, right? Just organize what I was gonna need in the morning.
I do that too.
Right? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I can't work unless I have everything organized on my desk.
Yes.
So my husband says you have a sickness about having everything right in its space. But actually,
Is it working for you?
Yeah. It really
Okay, so
works
then
well.
it's not a sickness. It's working for you. Yeah. Tell him I said so. I have a PhD. Okay, this aligning your environment can be things like if you're like, oh God, I really want to drink lemon water every morning, but I never do it. Put the lemon and the cutting board and the knife and the glass on the counter. You're going to be a lot more likely to do it. You want to drink green smoothies? Put all the stuff in there and then put it in the fridge with the water. That's what I do. Otherwise, I won't make them. Okay. Start the behavior ahead of time. Lay out your gym equipment. Do little things that take the edge off. It's like such a gift to future you. And then guess what? That version of you who shows up to work is inherently more compatible with doing the work you're going to do. Okay? Makes it so much more likely that you're going to be able to work with a more stabilized attention. Okay? All right, this is the last thing I want to tell you because it's really important. I can't believe I didn't mention this. Here is what I think is also going on, a huge problem that we're having. Because our attention is so destabilized, we have lost the ability often to distinguish the difference between an emergent task, do you get what I'm saying, emergent, and an emergency task. Okay, so an emergent task is, ooh, did I send that email? Okay, now I guess there are situations in which that could be a true emergency, but usually it's just an emergent task, meaning things are just gonna pop into your brain randomly. Oh, did I do that? Oh, what about that? Oh, what about this? Because if you don't have some kind of system that lives outside of your brain for storing all that stuff that you need to do, you're using your brain as a storage container because this is a terrible storage container for what you need to do, literally the worst. Start to document stuff outside of yourself. So when things emerge into your consciousness, I invite you to start checking in with yourself and saying, is this an actual emergency that requires me reorienting my attention around something else? Or is this just something to document and I'm going to come back later and figure it out? You keep, we call it, in our community, we call it a parking lot, where you're parking stuff that is important, because here's what happens. When you don't have a system outside of you where things are documented, you can't stabilize your attention, because you will confuse the fear of forgetting the emergent task you just thought of as urgency. I'm afraid I'm going to forget this, so it masquerades as urgency when actually it's just a task that needs to be documented for a later time, and then we restabilize our attention back where we are. Okay, and what I'm telling you, everybody, is you can only bowl in one lane at a time, and a lot of us are lane jumping throughout the day. Okay, have you ever been to an elementary school? Okay, when they move children through the school, they take a kindergarten class from the classroom to the auditorium. Do they just let them walk down the hallway? No, they get them into a single file line. It's safer, it's more efficient. It is so much more time efficient for you if you get your tasks into a single file line. So if you have a ton of email and you feel really panicked and really overwhelmed, get out a piece of paper and write down the names of the people that you're going to respond to in the order and number it. And then find it inside yourself to pick up your attention, stabilize it, and do one email at a time. So you're not jumping, okay? You're going to start to feel like, oh, wow, work feels so much better. I'm more relaxed. And that's because you are the supreme leader of your attention. And we remember that over and over and over again. Now, the truth be told, I think this is a message that humans need constant reminding of, okay? If you can remember from the one thing I could say, if you to remember from this today, is that if you prioritize stabilizing your attention, everything else is going to unfold better. And when things are not going well, check in and see what's going on with my attention. If things are not going well in relationships, check in and see what's happening with my attention, okay? And just like we're not always compatible with the work that we need to do, sometimes we're not compatible with healthy human relating. And that's good to know walking into interactions with people, okay? So think of it as all day long I have the opportunity to notice what's getting my attention. Is that where I truly want my attention going, my precious attention? If not, where do I want it? And practice picking it up and placing it where you want it to be. And now your thinking and your action can wrap around where your attention took you. You're focusing and concentrating on, you're able to stay with what you're doing. Something emerges into your brain, you document it, you stay, okay? Staying with what you're doing is really the secret to more of a relaxed productivity. And the last thing I'll tell you is that if you choose to stabilize your attention, people will notice. And you can actually support other people. People will feel, oh, what's going on with you? You're so relaxed. Yeah, I've been stabilizing my attention. Oh, what does that mean? But it's so powerful, right? And again, we are going to see a difference in society between people who can stabilize their attention and those who cannot. All right, wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much.
We got questions?
Oh yes, questions.
Question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have many tabs open in my brain. I call them tabs. They're just always open, like a laptop, right?
Yes.
And some of the tabs are, I should do this. Other tabs are, I need to be doing this. Other tabs are, oh my gosh, I need to do this. And there's so many. So how do I just reduce them or like, cause I'm just always, ooh.
I'm gonna give you a specific homework. Are you ready? Okay. It's called making a life inventory. And it's got 2 parts.
I'm nervous right now.
Okay.
I don't know why.
You can do it. Okay, Connie, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get out a piece of paper, and the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna document all the different domains or areas of your life. Okay, so like finance, your health and well-being, okay?
Are these like my core values or?
No, these are like areas of life where you need to do things. You need and want to do things. Like you have a household, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in your house.
Got it.
Okay. In your work, you probably have, I wouldn't just do work, I would do the different domains of your work.
Okay.
Because you have different. And you're gonna document all the different areas. By the way, sleep is an area of life. It's true. If you actually separate out sleep, technology for a lot of us is its own category, where we start to think about the different areas of our life. Where do I need and want to give my attention? Then in each category, drain your brain of everything that you can think of. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to do it all, but I want those open tabs to live outside of you. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're in here, they're going to keep you up at night. They're going to consume you, and they're going to destabilize your attention all day long. We have to drain your system all. And by the way, when your attention is destabilized a lot, it's often because you need to do what I'm prescribing right now. Mm-hmm. Get it outside of you. Then you can move to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm a human living in a 24/7 reality. when I look, it's like a giant back burner of potential things that you could do with your attention and energy and time. You start to choose priorities and also see like really in the picture across the full landscape of my life, are there some things here where I'm just gonna let go of that for now? It's too much, right? This is where your values come in though, is you say like, what matters most to me? What are the priorities I choose? And I encourage you to really choose priorities a week at a time. What are the things that I want to really give my energy and attention to this week? And it has to be realistic and humane. Okay, you have to look out for the magical thinker. Okay? Also, by the way, speaking of tabs, stop working on your computer with 35 tabs open. Don't do that to yourself. It just destabilized your attention. Right? Yeah. Pay attention to the digital environment and what it is doing. Don't have the little notification in the corner tell you that you're getting an email. You know, please do not have notifications from social media on your phone. Like, think about what's incoming into your system that's overstimulating you. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, but I have one more.
Yes, please.
Question, and that is, what if there's a couple things I would absolutely love to do, but I'm not doing them because I have all these other things I need to do.
Okay. For those things, what I would encourage you to do is figure out what is the outermost layer of work you would do to begin those projects, completely separate from doing it. What are the initial things you would do? Mm-hmm. See if we can start to get some of the initial things done, and then you'll be able to move into it. Also, Connie, look and see, is there anyone else that can truly do some of the things that you're doing? Like, do you really need to be doing it that way? Are there other ways to do some of those things? But those big projects, like I'm writing a second edition of a book that I wrote, and I procrastinated on it all the time until I realized I need to figure out what is the outer layer of engaging with it. And then you can go, because a lot of times we relate to these projects like, I was like this big amorphous project, when actually it's just a series of separate tasks. Mm-hmm. And you only have to do one at a time. You can single task your way through those things.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you written a book?
I wrote a book for graduate students. It's called Finish Your Dissertation Once and for All. So, and you know what's amazing is the person I sold my business to, we have become so close that I brought her in to be the second author on the second edition. So it's really, wonderful.
And a website? Because I don't see anything up there.
It's on the piece of paper. Yeah, I do. I have two websites. Yes.
All right,
Yes. You're welcome.
You have a question in the back?
Yes.
I think about something like Dave Ramsey's Debt Snowball. He's like, start with the smallest thing, build momentum, right? When it comes to task prioritization, is that like specific to the person? Or do you do the biggest, most stressful thing, like as you mentioned, that's on the horizon and it's drawing your attention while you're trying to do small things, or
it's a great question. I mean, I honestly would say it depends. But those big hard things, look for how you can kind of, when you like someone like shaves off a very thin layer of Parmesan, you can always shave off some small thing to do to connect it to that big hard thing. Okay. And pay attention, by the way, everybody. As you're working, how are you talking to yourself? And is the way that you're talking to yourself helping you stabilize your attention, or is it destabilizing it? Yeah. Did I answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
Is relaxed productivity for like planned versus unplanned work, or is it more like a state of mind that that planned work promotes?
That having a plan promotes?
Is it more like a state of mind that having planned work promotes?
I mean, I would say relaxed productivity, it is a state of mind.
Yeah.
I would say it's a way of being embodied as a human being. Relaxed productivity comes from somebody who is aware of themselves just outside of their mind. They're actually tracking themselves and noticing, how am I doing? Relaxed productivity is really fundamentally a practice. It's a way of choosing to operate in a world that's completely set up for us to be reactive.
So it's not necessarily conflict with unplanned work. It's just more about how you approach it, right?
Exactly. In fact, this is the thing. First of all, mean, you make a plan and then life happens, right? Emails come in, situations happen, crises happen, right? If you are practicing relaxed productivity regularly, when things go sideways, you are more resourced because you're more interconnected. You have a practice of stabilizing your attention and you realize, oh, this is a situation that could destabilize me. Relaxed productivity is all about choice. How do I want to be? How do I want to operate? What kind of quality of life do I want to have as someone who is working? And the thing about relaxed productivity is that you will only experience it if you practice it regularly because it's perishable. Yeah.
I like that because I've been doing this all my life. It's relaxed, but sometimes
You can get too relaxed.
too relaxed, and
Yes.
that's been my problem all my life. I've never been reactive.
Yeah.
I've always been calm and relaxed, but sometimes you just relax a little too much and things don't get done.
Yes, that's true.
But even then, I'm still not reactive. So
Because you are probably what we would call parasympathetically dominant. I'm sympathetically dominant. There's two branches of the nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the fight or flight. The parasympathetic is what brings you down. It's the kind of the, but when, first of all, I wanted you to know your stress response system, your sympathetic system, you need it. It's when you're not under threat, it creates action. Let's go, okay? But when we're under threat, that's when our attention is destabilizing, etc. But some people, like I'm sympathetically dominant. I'm gonna immediately, I get into action. But when we are parasympathetically dominant and we perceive any kind of threat, even very subtle, we tend to shut down and get frozen or kind of slow down. But it can move in both directions. I'm just saying, you're probably someone you're just more chill. Like your nervous system organized itself in a different way than mine. Sometimes some of us are actually needing to activate ourselves more, but we want to activate without over-activating, okay? We have to activate, some of us need to lean more in the productivity and some of us need to lean more into relaxation. You might have to lean in either direction. Yeah.
That's what I need.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna guess you
Yeah.
can stick around for a few minutes if
Sure,
anybody has
sure.
any more questions.
Sure.
Okay, can we give Dr. Allison a round of applause?